Okay. Everybody ready? Okay.
Ready, yeah.
Let's open our workshop on ordinances. And it is, I guess, 5 after 5 will work. So we'll probably spend most of our time on gravel roads and marijuana.
And I haven't tried to write a draft.
Okay,
I got all the information.
okay. All right. Do you have anything you want to share at this point, or?
No, let's go with the roads first. That's a miserable one.
Okay, go from there. So who would like to start?
So what I did with this, what David and I were working on, the gravel road ordinance and the private road ordinance. So you have drafts of both of those ordinances in front of you. Top one is the private road ordinance, and the other one is the gravel road ordinance with an appendix A that gets into more of the requirements of what needs to be done to these roads to make them acceptable. If you, I know you probably nobody's gotten a chance to look at this yet, but
I have.
it really, I think this does a pretty good job of explaining what I believe we would, require, for a private road and and in the gravel road ordinance for the gravel roads. It really spells it out pretty well, I think. And I don't know if anybody would want to, add or delete anything from this. So without having a chance for everybody to read it, I don't know, where we should go with this actually. Bob's had a chance to look at it, because I've had a chance to look at it.
I'm still confused about the gravel road part of it, though. I know, do we really need a gravel road ordinance?
Well, I think that came up before the select board meeting, right, Christina?
Yeah, that's something that they gave direction to work on.
And the intent was I think to make it less expensive possibly to put a road in a subdivision or
Yeah, for smaller developments, you don't need to have the sidewalks, the pavement.
yeah. And
Gravel road standard is fine for up to a certain number of dwellings or lots.
right. And in this ordinance, if there were changes made, the subdivision was made bigger or required, to have the sidewalks and stuff, then it addresses that in this ordinance.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to read through this.
Yeah, I
just
know.
saw it.
Yeah.
But Brett worked on something, and he kind of gives a number of lots that we kind of felt were acceptable for gravel roads. Then beyond that would definitely need to be paved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I also have not had the time to really go through it and review. I guess I would question or ask what the benefit is having potentially 2 separate ordinance documents, and then we would still have to also update our land use ordinance to make reference to these other external documents, instead of, if you will, making sure that we're including these standards that we're talking about here within our land use ordinance. That way we only have to change it in one place that's really accessible and easy to find for somebody if they are doing a development application. That way it truly is just in one, it's a one-stop shop.
Well, my thought with this was that in having separate ordinances, I mean, the reference material is all here on a few pages. You don't have to go from one section in the ordinance book to another section to get definitions, to get the roads, to get the schedule of uses, and all of that sort of stuff. It's I think, and I realize that we don't have the schedule of uses in here yet, But I didn't know if this, we need to blend this into our existing ordinance, I guess, if that's what you're thinking.
Well, I think that's what I was attempting to do. I think specifically within the packets before you this evening on tab, I think it's within Exhibit 2, but towards the end, it's Section 5 of our ordinance. On page
21, about, probably.
5-23.
Say that again, reference.
Yep, it's in Exhibit 2, so it'd be tab number 2, but it's page 5-23 of our land use ordinance. With that table, I mean, that's essentially what would outline those different thresholds for the backlot driveways versus private roads. And in this case, the private roads could also be the gravel roads, right? And just outlining those different thresholds, what those different standards are for developments, I'm talking right-of-way widths, actual roadway widths, slopes, hammerhead movement, sidewalks, things of all that nature. It would be truly a one-stop shop for people to actually look at this table and be able to figure out what type of road they need to design and which standards they would need to adhere to.
I like that, that looks good, thank you. So what have you done for, how have you addressed ADUs or potential changing, let's say, 9 lots to 9 dwellings to either 18 dwellings or, let's say, 27 dwellings? So how do we address that? Because then you're up to, I don't know if you're at collector streets at that point, but.
Well, I think he
Yeah.
changed the requirement from dwellings to lots.
Correct.
That's what you've done in this ordinance, right?
Correct, and I think it's one of those things too, where obviously, the board would have an application before them, and they're reviewing, the application before them as it stands. So if let's say it's a 5-lot subdivision, and they're proposing a gravel road. Well, I mean, by this ordinance, they would technically meet that, even though it may have the potential down the road to put on some ADUs that may bring it above that 10-lot threshold. The board has the responsibility to review what's before them then. I think when it gets to basing it off of dwelling units, it also kind of gets a little bit arbitrary in that sense too. I don't know from a use standpoint that, increasing, if it's a small subdivision, like 5 lots, for example. I don't know if all of those lots were to have ADUs, if all of them were to max out, and have as many ADUs as possible, maybe that would constitute them having to, pave the road or build it to a higher tier standard. But then again, it's a private road, and at the end of the day, the planning board approved that 5-lot subdivision. Down the road, if they see fit, if they want to pave it, that's their own responsibility, as they would have a road association in charge of it.
If you approve a 5-lot subdivision, you're not saying that it's the 5-lot subdivision is single-family houses. You're just designating it to be a 5-lot subdivision, right? If there's nothing that's been built on it or no plans to build anything on it, just a 5-lot subdivision, then the developer, why couldn't the developer put in 5 duplexes with 5 ADUs on those duplexes, which making 15 residences? And there would be nothing in our ordinance that would say, well, you can't do that, and, or you have to jump through this hoop now. The road's not, that doesn't meet our standards.
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of, it outlines, truthfully, in my opinion, I think the danger of basing it off of dwelling units though, right? It kind of almost becomes, and I think this is a little bit not friendly towards, the general public, where it almost can become a race of, okay, well, let's say it's in the case of a 5-lot single-family subdivision, and, only 4 more dwelling units, if we did base it off of dwelling units, only 4 more could be created, and then I could put those 4 ADUs in my property and then nobody else within that subdivision would be permitted to. And I don't think that's quite fair or our intent here with that. I do think it's a pretty slippery slope when we start basing off of dwelling units though.
But there would be an automatic requirement that once you pass that number of dwelling units, there'd be an automatic requirement that you had to upgrade the road to the standards set forth for, you know, whatever our subdivision standard is right now.
Yeah, I mean, is that what we want though? I mean, if somebody were to put an ADU on that would trigger that higher tier, you know, is that something that as a planning board we could live with that person now having to be responsible for upgrading that road?
Well, I just think the concern is with overdevelopment in the town, you know. I don't think you want to go down that road. I think you want to, you know, to try to control the development the best you can with your ordinances, so that it's acceptable for the residents of the town of Sebago. So I think we have to address all of these issues. I don't think we should be rushing into some ordinance that we're going to miss a lot of these little key points that we haven't even thought of yet. What is the big rush to get this accomplished for our next town meeting anyway? Because I don't know if that's, I'm thinking that we've got quite a bit of work here to do on this still, and I'm not sure that we're going to meet that timeline.
Well, I mean, and Christina, I guess maybe you can chime in here too. I know to work backwards from that target date, and I don't know, is it Bob or whoever came up with this timeline?
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of what we're trying to operate. I mean, I'm sure the town would like to see some kind of progress or something adopted. I mean, we've been talking about this for a few months now, and I think, you know, this is kind of why, you know, with this packet here for you tonight, you know, I did outline, you know, what those changes would look like based upon our conversations from the past few months. It's a lot easier to look at this and say, I think this should be dwelling units instead of lots. That's a really easy change to make. Instead of, you know, kind of talking about some of these larger things that, you know, we kind of already talked about before.
Yeah, if we don't get these ordinances correct the first time around, I can't see us going back and amending them anytime soon. You know, discovering that, oh my gosh, now the contractors now are putting in, you know, 3 times more units on a lot than what we thought that they were going to in the first place, or 2 times more units on a lot than we thought that they were going to do in the first place, and you just kind of lose control.
David?
Going back to the number of units on it and all that, looking at it, whether it's a minor street or a private road, it's still 20 feet wide. The 9 lots, I guess I could live with. One of the things we worked on, and I can't remember if we wrote an ordinance on this or not, but were the requirements of subdivisions to have in their deeds a road association that we approved, agreement that we approved, that would assure, you know, would set up the structure of it, and I think we had that. I know we talked about it.
I know it's in here, actually.
Yeah, same page actually, bullet point number 12. I just added, it's right above the table there, just that way, you know.
Oh,
That way it's
sorry.
not just a, no, you're fine. That way it's not just a discussion point, but it's actually codified as well. That way, you know, it's their requirement to show that burden of proof.
So I think it would behoove the town to perhaps come up with one with minimum figures, balances or something to assure that these roads are going to get maintained.
Come up with one.
An addendum to their deeds that say,
okay.
Purchase of this lot also require, like an HOA, you call it, road association membership. Each dwelling unit on this lot shall be, is legally bound to become part of this membership. And Because that would take care of private roads and your subdivisions. Right, would it not?
Yeah, well, I was gonna, sorry, I'm not sure if I'm understanding. What, does number 12 there above the table, does that miss something that I guess you're referencing?
No.
Yeah, 5-23 on exhibit number 2.
Basically, it says what I said.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, I didn't read it before, so.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I was
Didn't have a chance.
including what you're mentioning there.
Yeah, so,
So yeah, like I mentioned, this table is really aimed to, I think, clarify or really just provide in one space what type of road standards people would need to adhere to based on their type of development.
Yeah.
If the board, I guess, feels differently, maybe that we should base that threshold on dwelling units instead of lots. I think, in order to keep us on schedule, I think we need to determine those numbers tonight, hopefully. That way, we can keep the momentum going for these ordinance efforts. But one other thing too, I wanted to mention, right behind this page is a section on waivers. That was something that was brought up and talked about at our joint select board meeting as well, about making sure that the board had the authority at least to be able to grant a waiver based on that material composition. So that kind of covers, or at least allows the applicants to pursue a waiver for those gravel roads, as well as providing some criteria for the board to at least base that off of. So pretty standard language, for that section as well, but.
Just a kind of a couple of general things about this. Well, first, I think that whatever we do, we're going to be facing a whole number of changes in these things over the next couple of years, based on what the legislature's doing. It's definitely going to affect it. Towns are going to, all over the place, going to run into the same thing. And particularly in terms of how many houses and what's the impact on the development or whatever it might be. So I think we should still go ahead and try and create something that we can work with in the meantime.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
When working with the towns around, have you run into a major problem like David's Boucher's concern of an explosion of dwellings on a given lot?
No, I think one of the benefits of referencing lots as well is it does align with the state statute for subdivisions, because they base theirs off of lots and not dwelling units. In particular to the new housing law changes as well, they aren't, basing a new subdivision or a condominium association on dwelling units. It's really about the number of lots that you're creating. So I think that's, again, one of the benefits, that, let's say if somebody was proposing a backlot driveway and it's going to create 2 lots. Well, it still might create a subdivision if there was other lots, created within that 5-year window kind of thing. And then that would trigger a review by the board anyways. Yeah. That type of alignment for that language is usually pretty crucial. I would say most other towns, I think, define it as lots instead of dwelling units. Both have their pros and cons, but again, I think it's more about that alignment to that state language.
Up until now, we've operated under the notion of 1 lot, 1 dwelling for the most part, except for in our village district, which has some provisions for concentration. So what the state done is sort of taken it and said, instead of being 1 house per lot, now it's 3 dwellings per lot. And that sort of undermines our original plan years ago, that the original comprehensive plan and current zoning map, which hopefully was designed to keep the rural part of the town rural. And if they can go anywhere in town and put 3 houses on a lot, then that sort of undermines what was going on, because before it was about 1.5 acres for a house. And we made it 3 in the rural district to at least cut down the total amount. But here, we've gone, you know, to the point where now, you have a 3-acre lot, you could have a house on 1 acre. And it's actually would take it down from the original 1.5, so I guess I'm just being frustrated at what the state's done, and I think is counterproductive to what a better plan and a better understanding the state had 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see that, you don't have to go very far to see what's taking place, you know, years and years ago when Wyndham did their comprehensive groundwater study, it showed that under the present zoning ordinances back in the 90s, that Wyndham would never have to sewer. Well, now they do, and look what they're building over there now because of the sewer. I mean, it just, boy, it really changes your town, all of this, you know, if you don't plan for it, your town really takes a beating. You know, you cost your taxes and just everything. You know, but, so that's, I think that's where I'm coming from on this, and I think Paul is too, you know, it's like, you know, geez, you gotta plan on this, you just can't think to yourself, well, one house, like Paul is saying, it's one, you know, the potential is 1 lot, three residences, and I know that the ADU doesn't count as one, but the fact is, it still is. So I think you have to develop your streets and your infrastructure for that.
David?
Well, I concur. It would, if you have a subdivision in a rural development, you have 3-acre lots, very easily you can put a septic, a well, and a home on 1 acre. I just think we would be doing the town a disservice if we did not consider these numbers in this table here. You know, whether it's, we figure if it's a 10-lot subdivision, if we figure potential of 30, and we'll say, okay, it's, let's say 15, you know.
Maybe at some point, though, the town shouldn't accept this from the state without seeking redress for this, what I think is a poor decision the legislature made. And maybe at some point speak to whoever the elected representatives are and tell them this doesn't work for our town, and what we really need is you guys back in the legislature to figure some things out about what kind of population densities you think you're going to create here, and whether you might do some reform of your program that allows the town to stick with some of the original ideas about keeping the rural areas rural. So it might not be adapting to it. Who knows, you could raise it to 9-acre lots, I guess. But ultimately, get the state to come to their senses and allow for a more complex understanding and a more complex program than just simply saying 3.
Well, to your point, creating a 9-acre lot, that would curtail that, and I agree with you, but that's a taking from the people who have.
Well, if they already have 3-acre grandfathered lots, then they might be.
Yeah, but they may be like me and had, you know, a 20-acre piece, and all of a sudden things got passed, and I own still, now I can only do, what, 6.5 lots on that, so, you know. Your point is valid, all I'm saying is.
It is, you know, there's, when we were at our regional meeting, essentially, everybody was like us. Essentially, all the towns around, same comments, same things going on. So they're all struggling with
All of
that.
their comprehensive plans are 20 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And when is that next meeting?
It's not scheduled yet.
So,
Okay, then Bob,
Yeah.
if you have a regional meeting, could you bring up what Paul is saying?
Oh,
Just to-
they've already brought it up.
Has anybody worked
There.
at it as opposed to?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, they directly have connected with the legislature in
And
terms of
so
what
we're up
they're
against
doing,
it.
and they are listening to that kind of input and supposedly gonna help with some things, but
I'm going to
I
the
don't know what's gonna come up to be.
woodland owners
the legislature.
tomorrow.
On a national level.
Yeah. You know, it used to be Swam, now it's woodland owners, and there's a good meeting in Augusta tomorrow. Basically, I'm gonna tell them basically the same thing. If you have any pull with the legislature, see if you can do something about this, because it's not gonna serve any purpose. And that, following up on what David said, you have 20 acres and you can divide it into, say, 6 3-acre lots, 6 times 3, do you really want to start sticking out in rural areas, 18
18 houses.
units on
Right.
20
It's a
acres?
potential,
That's
yeah.
To me, it defeats the purpose. If people came back from from being asked about what they'd like to see in the town, and they'd like to see it stay rural, that absolutely defeats the purpose.
Yeah, they require you to come up with a comprehensive plan, and then they create legislation that circumvents your comprehensive
messy.
plan. It's crazy.
It's messy.
They approve your comprehensive plan, it seems to be working in our town, and people seem to be well enough pleased with it. And then they come along with these, to my mind, dumb thumb 3, without really thinking anything through with any sort of complexity, and understanding that the original idea of keeping the rural areas rural was a good idea, and their new plan is not a good idea.
They should have started with if this happens in the future and the town overdevelops, how are we gonna get water and sewer in there? And make accommodations for that. Because eventually that's what gonna end up happening.
Does home rule not apply here?
It's over.
Does home rule not apply? By home rule, we say that this is what it's gonna be. The state has over here, we're gonna do this, because this is our town.
You still gotta meet state statutes, though.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess to back
We
up,
can-
Bob, what you said to Tina's question too, there is some information posted about the housing law, listening sessions and different comments they've accepted, and they've posted that online on their website. And some of it almost sounds verbatim to what Paul is saying about impacts to the rural areas and same thing for public utilities and infrastructure. But I guess in an effort to stay on schedule tonight though,
So one more comment about that.
Yeah.
A moment ago, we were just talking about, what if we get 2 or 3 more homes or ADUs start to happen here? But there's nothing that I've read anyway, in any of the state stuff either, that says that we couldn't create some restrictions ourselves.
You
We know
could.
that we can't ask for too many parking spots, but we
Pretty
can
much,
certainly
yeah.
ask.
I was just gonna say that actually, that, it's not currently within our ordinance, but some towns do have it, that all ADUs are required to get planning board approval. Now, some view that as a little bit restrictive and kind of presents some barriers to people for the average person that maybe just wants to put one mother-in-law suite kind of thing. But, as the board or if the public feels, that there's a true slow creep of development going on, then and if there are concerns about, cumulative impacts over these ADUs happening over time within a subdivision or a larger lot, let's say, that is one mechanism that the town could use under home rule authority that they could implement. The planning board is responsible for reviewing all those. I don't know that I love that personally, but it technically is an option.
So we could control it.
You could, correct.
Yeah, we could have some of our own restrictions around it. Yeah. We may have to do that as towns as we go forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I don't know that necessarily it needs to be something that's added in now at this point, the next cycle of ordinance changes as we do receive more guidance from the state, more reference material for what the actual statute looks like. Maybe that's something to consider then, but I guess for the roadway stuff though, I don't know that we need to make it, include that, so.
Just one other kind of general comment on both of these, the complexity of created is just like what we have now, which is tracked into several different ordinances and the likes, different sections of our ordinance books. The one thing I really liked about the stuff David put together, and you should talk for a minute or two about how you did it and how that came about, is that it really just makes it a small document to look at this particular thing. If you're doing a private road ordinance, here it is. It's not gone across 5 different sections of the ordinance. It's all collected together. What I'm thinking there, though, simply is that to have it all as little summarized sections is probably not a bad direction to go, particularly with new comprehensive plans and those kinds of things. As we add pieces in, we could continue to add them in a way that's more readable.
Yeah.
And more direct. That's all that's all about.
Sure. So Brett, you've got 6 sections with changes in here?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. do you have a synopsis of why you're making the changes?
I mean, I could come up with one if you'd like, but I mean, this is like specifics like why each numbers were chosen where, or just like for each section, I guess. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Well, I mean, I can read these things, and they may make sense to me, they may not make sense to me. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying,
The rationale.
the rationale behind them.
Sure.
So when we made, I don't know, maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. When we made changes, we said, section such and such, line, paragraph, reads this. We feel that, or the reason for the change is, we feel that this does not address A, B, C, and D. We feel we need to address A, B, C, and D because of this reason. Here's the verbiage that will make those changes. You've made the changes. I just want to make sure before I start shooting this stuff down or saying, yeah, let's go ahead with it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to come up with that. And I think what you're describing, I think I know what you're talking about. That's different than like what actually appears on the actual warrant article.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a working
It's
document.
different, but yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Do you have a copy of that, Bob, of just, of the format that we used?
Oh, sure.
yeah,
It just,
I have what you're referencing,
okay.
but,
Could give me a minute though.
No, he's got it. He's got it.
yeah, I do have a
I
copy
get that
of
to you earlier
but-
anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things, I don't know, I mean, if there's a specific section that you have questions on, I would love to elaborate and have that kind of conversation, but, I mean, I
haven't
think,
had a
I
chance
think
to
in
read it.
general, it could be summarized, you know, the paving plant kind of things, I mean, that was talked about long ago, and I think that one's pretty universal.
Pretty straightforward.
For the roadway standards, it's, you know, ensuring that our ordinance actually has standards for backlot driveways, for gravel roadways, and allowing the board a mechanism to actually approve gravel roadways. And then the staff level review pieces of it too, I mean, that's really for the smaller developments to kind of help save the town some money and time for smaller applications that, you know, instead of taking 3 months, you know, they could take 3 weeks with staff to just kind of, you know, help the general public along throughout the development process, so.
That one we'd have to be a little bit careful about just in terms of ADUs and all those kinds of things. Because,
Correct,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I think that it would state staff level review versus planning board, and the only thing that really states staff level review was the backlot driveway, right?
Yeah, so I guess, and real quick, to jump to the next section, exhibit number 3, page 6-3 in there, just to jump to staff level reviews here. It does outline those 4 criteria, if you will, for what would constitute as a staff level review. These are, again, meant to be for those really small, minor projects that maybe are going to the planning board now, and Christine, I think you could maybe speak to this a little bit clearer, but the larger one, though, is that number 4, for those backlot driveways. Those, in my opinion, are really small, minor projects, you know, they're not triggering subdivision review, that would be appropriate for something like staff to rely on to approve those kind of developments.
So is that changes in the schedule of uses in that table? For our, is that what that is?
Well, you mean the backlot driveway?
Yeah.
I don't know that it's in our schedule.
You know how we have, you know, whatever, restaurants, single-family units, and it says who needs to approve it, right? You,
So that would be under the same schedule, the same table that we looked at for the roads. It wouldn't be in the schedule of uses, it would be in that, where was that?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it now.
5, the schedule of uses, isn't it 4?
It's similar to that.
Well, that one doesn't outline the reviewing authority. It does say within there that if a waiver is requested from the backlot driveways, that it would be the
Page
planning board
4-6.
review.
Oh, on mine, on the old book.
I think it's actually within our subdivision, because that's actually where we talk about.
Well,
backlot
are you
driveways.
asking about where it states for its, because you did put it into the backlot driveway section.
Which section is that, sorry?
It's 4-9.
Yeah,
What page are you on, which grade? Oh, Christina,
I'm sorry.
what page are you on, huh?
4-9, but I'm not seeing that it says staff level review, because in the past it's been just CEO review, but maybe that should be added there, but it's,
yeah, I think you're right. I think we could add that.
yeah.
Put in there.
So. Okay. But are you gonna add it on like section 4 or 5? I don't know if it would help clarify things and be a fast road to.
Well, it's not
Okay.
really a use, it's an
Yeah.
access way, it's a,
Okay, fine.
Yeah, I don't think we have that in our scheduled uses.
We don't.
Because, yeah, it's not a land use
Yeah.
type thing, it's more of just a type of development.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm glad you asked that. It's one that we can definitely add, at least in section 4.9, to at least clarifying the staff would be responsible for that too, so.
I think beyond that, it states in there that it's planning board review for each, like for the gravel, for the private roads, and then for
Correct.
the minor and cluster.
It'd be up to your discretion, correct?
For backlot driveways?
No, for the lots, projects, the size of the project.
I mean, I think with the new housing law, I can approve up to 5 lots now at a time, every 5 years, rather than the 3.
Yep.
And it wouldn't require planning board review. But that, we haven't taken that on yet. That starts in June of 27.
I found where I have it. It's actually in section 7-2. In our site plan review ordinance, it's in a little bit of a goofy spot, but it was where I felt like it was the most appropriate to talk about that, because that is where it defines the minor developments versus the major developments. And so when we're creating that third tier of the staff level reviews, I think that was what made sense in my mind to put that there, and defining, again, it's the same as what it is before, but you know, clarifying that's where the backlot driveways will fall under staff level review. I knew I put it in there somewhere, so.
So what is a project less than 2,500 square feet of gross for non-residential floor area? What do you anticipate those to be?
Of Roma Joe's or something like that?
Maybe,
that
well, I
would
mean,
be because the whole site would be.
yeah, or maybe like a small expansion off of a commercial business, like a really small footprint type expansion.
It would be something small. It wouldn't be a whole project, right? It would be like an addition to the project.
No, yeah, like that would, 2,500 square feet isn't a whole lot for non-residential building.
I understand that. I know what it looks like.
It came up with 2,500 square feet.
And so
I think it came from. Let's see something. So you
dwelling
want-
units, 2 dwelling units, am I thinking 2 separate buildings, or am I thinking of a duplex?
2 dwellings would be two living units, meaning it could be a duplex, but it also could be 2
2 separate, okay.
units.
Yeah, for like a backlot driveway, if there's 2 lots created and 2 dwelling units on there.
But that's, he's talking about non-residential. Would
These
that
are all
be-
non-residential?
Yeah, so
I'm just getting home from work, but.
it wouldn't apply to the residential.
Well, so we sectioned it out, yeah, it's the 2,500 square feet for the non-residential,
Yep.
Okay.
and then 2,500 square feet for the impervious surface area, and then up to 2 dwelling units, and then the backlot driveways.
Okay. So on this particular thing, in our book, does it end at F? And G and H are additional. Page 6-3. Page 6-3.
Okay.
In our current ordinance, yes, the section, or, so D1F is where that ends.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, so that section.
D1F, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then G and H, those what's in blue would be what's
Okay.
added. Yep.
Thank you.
Did you explain what the staff level meant?
To them or in the
Yeah,
ordinance, I guess.
to them.
Yeah, like, yeah, we mentioned earlier, just, talking about those really smaller, like, it's not like a land use impact type thing, it's just more of like a really small development or small improvement, things of that nature, is what it's really meant for. Christine, I guess maybe you can speak a little bit more specifically to this in terms of what that would look like for applications instead of going to the planning board, like maybe a previous example of something.
Autumn Lane, am I allowed to say that? The name of, can I talk about the applicant though?
Yeah, maybe like the circumstance, maybe not the
Okay,
specific
sorry.
application.
So, we had an applicant come looking to do an addition on to his existing commercial project, and it was approved already. He was just looking for, I think it was maybe 250 to 300 square feet of addition, just creating a roof over patio.
Did we do that?
You did that.
Yeah.
But, for such a small thing, it probably wouldn't require, the whole review, maybe just the planner and I, and any other department heads that are, that may have interest in it or need involved.
Yeah, I would say like most communities, what a staff level review would look like would be either, I'm trying to think of smaller towns, not like Portland, for example, but it would be either like the code officer or town planner, and then, they would loop in maybe the public works director if there was maybe a curb cut or a minor access change, or just maybe getting public works approval on it, maybe touching base with fire to see if there's any immediate concerns kind of thing as well. Like in the instance of a backlot driveway, fire department would probably want to take a look and make sure that the hammerhead in there is, it's going to be sufficient for them to be able to maneuver around, that kind of thing as well. But that process would take maybe 3 weeks instead of, going through a pre-application, public hearing, actual meeting kind of thing, and where that could result in 3 months. So.
That's the whole concept here, is we're trying to, whoever it was that put the process into being didn't have the experience of working with it, and it became so cumbersome, correct? I mean, for the code enforcement officer to get things through, it has to be a pre-application, it's gotta be a review, it's gotta be this, it's gotta be that. Now we've got 4 months down the road, and the poor applicant is still sitting there waiting, I just wanna dig a hole.
I think for bigger projects, that makes sense, that
Yes,
process.
but building a house,
Yeah.
putting in a garage, it's absurd. But we were still putting them through the same process that we were a big project, right?
Well, yeah, this town does mostly non-conforming structures and non-conforming lots, more than it does commercial. So it's kind of a long process for a house.
But it shouldn't be that complicated
So,
for an applicant to be able to do something on their own property.
No, I mean, it depends too, like the town where I worked at before is, I think, a really good example of this, where the town had some interesting setback requirements that were pretty much based off of the principal structure and accessory structure. And there's a lot of sprawl going on, but it was 35 feet. And we found there was at least like a dozen applications each year going to the Board of Appeals seeking a variance for a swimming pool or a deck. Just something, a very small improvement that people wanted to make to help, them improve or enjoy their own home kind of thing. And what we really gathered from that, through those years of people going through that was this is really cumbersome for people. How many other people are we preventing from building a deck or a pool, and helping them fulfill their dreams for their own properties because of these setbacks? So, I mean, and the change was quite simple. We had one setback for the principal structure, and then a separate setback for the accessory structures. And, we kind of got rid of all those variances that were coming through, because at the end of the day, it was really to help people. And so I think that's really what this is meant to do, is try to, the smaller impact type of projects would be up to staff. And then those larger projects that would, need some greater discretion would be going before the board. And, in the event that maybe Christina isn't comfortable with something, there still is the provision in there that staff does have the ability to elevate it to the planning board. So maybe there is some nuance or a complicated kind of thing, or, maybe it's not quite clear exactly what's going on. She would have the authority to bump it up, and then we go before you folks anyways.
Makes sense.
So in the instance that you were talking about the deck and the setback and reducing the setback, is there some sort of provision in there that's, so that you can't enclose that deck and expand the house at that point, after the deck is built?
You
For-
have a devious mind.
Well, I mean, that's, think about it,
It's
that's what happens.
devious. They want a deck to sit out in the sun.
They
used
would
to be
still
a
have
builder.
to,
No.
I mean, at that point, they would still have to comply with the principal structure setbacks.
Yeah, then it becomes a principal structure.
Yeah,
So-
it
So they
kind
couldn't do
of
it.
swallowed into that, but.
But you'd have to have some verbiage in there that says that, in your ordinance, right? I mean, there would have to be something in there that says that, you can't, this cannot be expanded, right?
Well, I mean, it falls back on the definitions and how you define a deck, right? At that point, it doesn't become a deck anymore. It becomes part of the home or the residence.
Yeah, see? It's not a deck anymore.
So what if you have, let's say, a commercial structure like you were saying, and not that particular one, but they want to put in the Roma Joe's on, okay, less than 2,500 square feet, using existing driveway, but
I don't know,
increases?
it changes the use, doesn't it? Makes
That's
it
what I'm
expensive.
asking, is,
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things, when it's a change in use, like the actual use, I mean, depending on our use table, then it would have to go for the planning board. I don't know, I'd be interested in how an Aroma Joe's, I guess, would be below 2,500 square feet of impervious. That seems really hard to do.
well, the impervious is already there.
I think it would still require planning board review because it's a change in use.
Right.
If you're going from one type of use for the overall property, and then you're adding the aroma
Commercial.
Joe's, which has
Right.
a different use.
Yeah, I mean, we would fall back to our schedule
So
of
they
uses
add-
there, so.
If they add permanent rentals, would that be a change of use?
Permanent meaning long-term rentals.
Long-term rentals?
What do you think? I mean,
So what was the previous existing use, I guess? I think that's,
Short-term,
so going from short-term rental to long-term rental?
yeah.
I don't think that requires any kind of planning board review.
Well, we don't have a definition for short-term rental, and it would fall, the closest aligning uses are lodging.
It's still residential now. Because-
Right, but,
Well, if it's set up as lodging,
Oh, then yeah. Well, I don't know, because, I don't know, I can't answer that. I
Well-
did hear in the past that I can change the use to residential, but not to anything else.
well, yeah, I mean, if it's lodging, but I guess what would be the question, I guess, then?
Well,
If
the
there's
question
improvements
is-
on site, or if they're adding a unit, or,
if they're changing the use from lodging to short-term rentals, they're not even 600 square feet.
short-term rental's already included under a
If it's an
lodging.
allowable use for the district, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they still have to comply with, obviously, schedule of uses. So if, commercial is inappropriate there, or if the town adopted a standard for short-term rentals and we went through and figured out which districts we wanted them in and which not, then they'd still have to comply with that.
So we're gonna need to wrap on this one fairly shortly here. So what do you guys particularly see as next steps?
To review all the information that we have in front of us, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, what I would say is that when we meet next time, we should have gone over these blue changes and made comments and questions, and then when we get together, we go through it and decide on a final draft or final proposal to the selectmen.
Yeah.
So that would be my proposal.
Okay. And I would encourage folks to go through the others as well.
Yeah.
And just look at the format, how they're put together, just other
What is-
versions, so you get familiar with that.
Okay, well, why are we wanting to get familiar with that? If that's just what we want to do.
This is really a different version of this. It's a different way of looking at
We don't
it.
have the gravel road ordinance or
Yeah,
private road.
I guess,
You would be incorporating your gravel road provisions into this.
Already is.
It's already in there.
So we might not need a freestanding document.
I mean, we can go over it.
Well,
And I think it's a great idea that
You
it's a
bet.
freestanding document, but I can't see it be, I think it's redundant.
okay.
But we'll
It's different.
use that.
Well, it's different, Bob, but I
Yeah.
mean, we have to decide which one we're going to use.
Yes, I agree, absolutely. Yeah,
So in
that's
that
why I say
way-
take a look at
Well,
it.
that's why, yeah, I can see that, but I'm saying we have to come to a decision as to which way we're gonna go.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
might-
paying a fortune for this thing right here.
Yeah, you might actually, in those ordinances that I've done up, there may be just things you pick out that, wow, we ought to include this in.
In here.
Or see conflicts or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they put a lot of work, they both
Yeah.
put a lot of work into
You
this.
bet.
I mean,
We're
it's
paying
not,
for this one.
not one document is going to do it all, so.
Yeah.
no, by
You'll
no
find
means.
that there's information in those two ordinances
Yeah,
that
that aren't in here.
that would be helpful in our ordinance. I
Oh, I'm
think.
sure, I'm sure.
That's what we'll do then.
Yeah.
How it all works.
That's what we'll do.
Yeah, perfect, that's great.
Christina, does this align, I guess, with, or where did this come from? Is this from,
That's from Bob, I suppose.
That's from me, yeah.
But we will, I mean, once we get into the meeting, we can discuss the February 10th, because we're gonna have to reschedule that.
I know that, yeah,
Okay.
once we get there, yeah.
What did you say about rescheduling?
On the target dates, we'll have to reschedule the February 10th meeting.
When you say reschedule it, what to reschedule it to where? To when?
A different day in the month, because we're having a big party.
Okay, we're having a party, having a party.
Oh,
Party.
That's right, now I know, there was something important here.
The 200th anniversary party.
It wasn't like it was just dull work, it's a party.
yes.
Holy
Yeah,
cow,
right, you get to come too.
Yeah.
really?
We're not looking at just a bunch of babies here. We've been here a
So I
long
have
time.
one other point here that we want to move on with. And Phil, you're in the audience here, so just to ask you, we asked you some time ago to look at dry hydrant ordinance that we have already right in front of us here. It would be
have a
very
draft.
good to move that along,
You have a
particularly with all our
draft, it's
stuff.
never implemented. So,
Yeah.
we're continuing to work on that.
Okay. Have you got a time frame you can put that together for us? We'd love to get it in this year's June meeting.
We'll see about that. I've got something that's gonna be pressing more than the dry hydrant ordinance, so I'll talk about it in the meeting.
Okay. Okay. Well, if you could give us some idea in terms of when you could review it, not asking you to rewrite it,
Yeah,
just what else you'd like to see different.
yeah, we're coordinating to see what other towns have in their ordinances so that we're on track with the same type of scenario, so it's,
Okay.
everything's kind of cut and dry and not one town is
Yeah.
more strict than the others, so.
Okay. Okay. So you'll get back to us.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. All right.
real quick, just so I'm
Yes.
clear on expectations, I guess, on my end. So, am I understanding correctly that next meeting we meet then, we'll have, everybody on the board will have reviewed, I guess, these documents, and we'll be able to speak to specific,
Yep.
maybe alterations, if we
Yes.
need to change a dot or i's, cross our t's, type of thing. Okay, just
Essentially.
want to make sure
Yep.
I understand.
So no rewrites at this point. Let's take a look at what we have.
Okay.
Probably
Yeah,
have
that's
ample ideas and
No data.
Yeah.
it's a question of what we want to move forward with. Okay, that'd be good.
This also comes out of, yes. Program. I'll come up
Yeah, great. Love to see it. Love to see it. Okay.
look at the
I
other
think we're
things
done
too.
with the workshop then for today. We'll set dates for the next meeting anyway, in the next session.
Do you want me to pause the recording? Do you want me to pause the recording and
Yep.
until we get to the next?
Yeah, we'll take 2 minutes here as a quick break. Our planning board meeting to order. It is 6:07. Okay. So welcome to the planning board meeting of the town of Sebago. Tonight's agenda is available by the sign-in sheet. Folks get that over there, hopefully. We'll take a roll call of those board members here in attendance. Paul White.
Present?
Tina Vaness. Here. Dave McCarthy.
Here.
Dave Welsh. Here. And myself, Bob Liberty. Let's acknowledge town staff present as well. We have Christina Robinson, Code Enforcement Officer, and Brett Wimkin, Town Planner, and Garrett Jones, Executive Secretary. Thank you. Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So this is a public proceeding, not a public hearing, and unless the planning board specifically votes to go into executive session. Anyone here has the right to hear everything that's being said and to look at all the exhibits or materials that are presented. Please notify the chairperson if you are unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda, which is available tonight by the sign-up sheet. Okay, so we have a brief agenda tonight. We are really going to review our planning board minutes, and we're going to talk about one piece of old business, which is 61 Shore Road, and set a date for our next meeting, and that's really about it for this evening. Okay? That's the plan. So let's do our, any additional documents or that we need to take a look at?
No, there was just, we got some a response from attorneys regarding 61 Shore Road.
Okay.
But aside from that.
Okay. Very good, thank you. All right, and so we did get some response back from the attorneys, but they have more questions essentially. We'll get to those in just a moment. All right, what else we got here? Okay, so let's, anybody have a motion on the minutes?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes from our December meeting, December 15th.
I'll second it.
Very good. Any discussion? All set? Okay. All in favor? Very good, thank you. Motion passes. Any public questions before we go into our session? Okay, very good. So we have old business, which is map 21, lot 45, on 61 Shore Road. Application submitted by Kevin Schmid for a garage with an apartment on a non-conforming lot. Okay. So how about just a brief status, just for a moment?
Yeah, so Bob and I sent an email to the attorney with the questions that you had requested at the last meeting. The attorney was not able to complete answering the questions. They needed more information too, to give a better answer to what we're looking for. And then they'd like to come back on the 27th during a meeting and explain their response through a Zoom. So I think you have a copy of the questions if you want to invite the applicant to.
I'll go through those. Okay.
I would have one question that came up when I thought about it.
Paul,
Is
just one second, please, first. Have fees been paid in the elections? We all set with fees?
The fees have been paid, but I think we should request more in escrow, another $500 in escrow.
Okay, okay. Anybody make a?
I make a motion that we require another $500 in escrow for this application before any further work proceeds.
Any second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any questions, conversation?
Well, I'd say that they own two lots that they bought together, described on a deed as separate lots. And then they owned it, and at some point in time, did they ever have the lots formally separated into two separate lots for sale? Or did they just advertise it that way? I guess I'd ask the applicant.
Yeah, you can answer.
So lots were separated. The property was put, the lot 40, I think it's 44, with the house was put up for sale. And then taken off and then relisted with both lots together.
You came into possession of the lot by one deed to describe both lots. Did you ever have deeds prepared that separated them back into two separate lots?
Yes, we did.
Right. Thank you for answering the question. I just had something I had thought about while I was reviewing it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Here, I have to turn the fan down a little bit. I'm having trouble hearing.
I have a question, Rob.
Sure, before we get into these.
Yeah,
Go for it.
the reason for the increase in escrow, Christina,
Well, the burden of proof is on the applicant, and we have requested legal to chime in.
okay, so it's for the cover legal expenses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's vote on that. All in favor?
Nice crow, yes.
Yes. Thank you. That passed. Okay, so let's go through the questions that the attorneys have. And we just got these yesterday, so we're kind of last minute here on some of these. So let's see. What proof do you have that these lots are legally non-conforming lots? Example, deeds dated before the zoning took effect in Sebago, those kinds of things. And were these lots separate lots at the time zoning was adopted?
Don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. Okay, zoning was adopted,
Shouldn't you tell us that?
that's when the comprehensive plan was approved, right?
Well, in this town, it was adopted in 2010.
2010.
The zoning account.
Yeah, so what we need from you is for you to do some research and to find deeds prior to 2010.
I have those.
Okay, so just submit that to me, please.
What year did you take possession of the properties?
22? No, yeah, 22 or 23.
It's only a few years ago.
Yeah, it's 2.5 years, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And the first one that we talked about was what proof do you have that these lots are legally non-conforming lots? That would have to be in the deed.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. Okay to move on to the next one?
Yep.
All right. Do you believe that you have one lot or two separate lots?
You can't,
I do.
In the deed, it's described as 2 lots in one deed. So to answer that question, it would have to be 2 lots, because they're labeled as 2 separate lots on the tax maps of the town.
what does your deed say?
The deed lists lot 44 and then lot 45.
Okay.
So, and when we purchased it in I believe it was 23, the deed was transferred lot 44 and lot 45 on one deed. That's how we purchased it.
Excuse me.
And right now, the tax bills it shows we received from the town a bill for lot 44 that shows, I think, adjacent property, which is 45. So we received one town tax bill from the town and always have. So, but the deed says 44.
Okay. Okay. All right. Please clarify which lot is 44 and which lot is 45. There's some confusion on that.
44 has the existing dwelling,
Okay.
and 45 is the one that has the frontage on Shore Road.
There was some confusion around that, I guess.
It says up here.
Did you get that right, Chris?
Yep. I can see it. I can see it.
It's on the survey.
Does have the going, so that's correct. Good. All right. And
45, 44. 44 has the house.
44 has the house, yes, as I said, 44 has the house. The vacant lot 45 has the frontage on Shore Road.
It also has the septic system.
45
Proposed
has the leaching
This is the
fields
leach field.
from the septic tank that's on 44.
All right.
And that was done by the previous owner, who originally owned 44 with the dwelling, and they only had space, they had 2 cesspools for 2 discharge points in the house. When the house burned down on 45 sometime in the early to mid-90s, they purchased the property and then permitted and installed the septic system for half of the house, not the whole house, for half of the house, and put the tank on the lot with the house 44, but they didn't have space for leaching fields, and then put the fields on 45. A year or so ago, year and change ago, we permitted to remove the other cesspool, to put in an ancillary tank that pumps into the existing 3-bedroom system, so that the cesspool is removed. Now there's a compliant septic system there.
okay. Okay.
So does lot 40, 45, is there a deeded right-of-way for that leach field on that separate?
We added an easement for the fields, and we believed that we could separate the lots, because then you would need an easement for maintenance of those fields if they ever had to be dug out and replaced. So we put an easement on the lot 45, so that lot 44 always had the right to maintain those fields.
Was the person that started all of this a wacko?
So what this started with, I believe, in 2 years ago. I hired Sebago Technics and was dealing with Matthew Eck, and the real estate attorney, who had a meeting with Brandon Wood here. I do not have notes from the meeting, but what I was told, Brandon Woolley came here and met with Matthew Eck and asked about the viability, that it was okay to separate the lots. He was told affirmative, you're okay, separate the lots, and that, based on that, we separated the lots. And then
What
this
would-
happened, and then
What was the reason for separating the lots?
I asked if it could be a legal division of lots,
Got you.
and was told, I don't have meeting notes, and I don't
Yeah,
have
right,
anything
I'm
published.
hearing you.
But was told, yes, you can separate the lots.
So that you could then sell the lot 45?
Yes, sell it,
Whatever.
whatever, and have 2 separate properties, correct.
And after that meeting, you had the attorneys prepare documents and separated them?
Yes, and then subsequently also permitted an additional septic system for lot 45, the vacant lot. And here we are. So, after,
To your knowledge, was this any part of a plan, a development, these lots back there? Yes,
you mean the original development when that was put in?
yeah.
When,
Don't,
Well,
okay.
the only thing I have is when we purchased it, we have the deed that lists 44 and 45 lots.
It does not reference any plan, development of such, okay?
No, the only thing that's referenced other than easements for the
Okay.
water systems that run off the community well is also the rights to the beach are in the deeds, both 44 and 45.
Okay, thank you.
And there's kind of an overarching question here, essentially, that the attorneys are asking, which is, what are you trying to accomplish overall?
So if you look at this in the context of the community, which is a high-density area, obviously, and I think that was shown by the handout that I gave with the aerial view of the property.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So what we wanted to do is to be able to use that property to essentially add value to the property by putting up an auxiliary dwelling unit, like it could be a garage with apartments up top, similar to what's been done in the neighborhood as well. So it's consistent with what's happened, and so you have the vacant lot that had a house previously, and we wanted to get back to have a piece of property that you could put up in the definition of ancillary dwelling unit.
Yes,
Can we talk about the water?
go ahead.
Do you know the location of the water lines?
It's there, it's sticking out of the ground. There's a valve that's labeled for lot 59 in the pump house.
But do you know the lines that run to the other houses?
No one does. No, we've spoke to a lot of the neighbors. So on that property, 45, there are two, one is essentially it's a 20-foot driveway easement that also provides for maintaining water lines that cross that from the pump house. And then there's a 10-foot easement on the south end of 45 that also provides for maintenance of the water lines and passage as well. And that's where I believe the majority of the water lines that service the houses up on the hill. Because when we bought the house, just before we bought it, one of those lines broke and they dug up what would be the driveway in that easement to fit to repair it. So yeah, on the back of 45, there's a 10-foot right-of-way that you've got water lines running through to service the houses that are to the west.
When you see the back, is that the part that abuts 44?
Yes.
Okay.
If you'd like, I can show you on the survey.
Do you guys want to see?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah.
Also, now the only deed I have, is this the only deed you guys have? Where you merge the lots back together?
That would be the most current deed, yes.
Okay, but it doesn't, I would like copies of those water line easements.
It's on there.
It is.
It's on the deed, so if you look, can I ask for help to hold
We have an easel around here somewhere.
We've got one here. So here's the existing dwelling. The community well resides right here.
Okay.
And services the entire area. You've got the lake over down here. It services, I believe, somewhere between 16 and 19 households. Okay. So there's a 20-foot easement, that's a driveway easement that provides access and serviceability for the water lines. There are water lines that run here in this 10-foot easement that service the houses up here from the community well. So 45 has this easement for passage and maintenance of the water. It's described largely as water lines. And that maintenance also exists for this 20-foot right-of-way here because the water lines all run, not all, for the houses on the hill and for this house, and the water line for this house that's existing run through this easement, and that's on the deed.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Is this the deed you're talking about? I have one deed, and I could have misplaced it, but I don't see it on there.
When you separated
This
it,
references the existing, the deeds.
When you
This was
separate,
to put them back, this was to put the two parcels together.
Right.
So if you look at the existing deeds, which I know I sent Christina, and if not, I can send them back to you, the easements are all called out.
Okay, let me just, thank you.
when you
Do you
separate,
have all the deeds?
I'm looking to see if I do.
sir?
Another question.
He was answering.
Question answered.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
you identified the location that you believe that the water lines run through, but it's not confirmed, right?
Other than there was water leak and he also dug it up.
Okay, so it's just one line and they kind of shoot off in different directions?
I believe it's one line that runs up to the hill and then breaks out to the houses up on the hill.
Does the leach field sit over it in any areas?
The discharge pipe from the septic tank is pumped uphill to the leaching field. The discharge pipe,
Have my original package with me then.
the water line
Thought I
runs,
did, but
So just
Must have left
the
it home.
pipe, it's not the actual?
not the fields.
it has the
So
deeds.
the fields,
This is the only deed I have. Can I?
Go ahead. Yep.
fields are here, that's the distribution box. So that's where we want to talk about. And that 10-foot easement, that's where they, so they intentionally put the fields up past the easement.
Christina, how many deeds do you have?
For him?
Yeah,
I think you submitted to me the original deed where it was just two on one deed. And then you've also sent me the two separated deeds. And
When you separated the property, did you separate it into two distinct entities?
There were two, yes, there were two separate and filed with Cumberland County. Then, then back, I believe it was September or August, that update was made to the deed for the sole purpose of recombining the lots.
Christina, do you have the deeds that specify the right-of-way for the water lines?
I don't recall seeing them. Are you sure it's in there? It's
If not, I'll send them to you before I leave the property tonight.
Thank you.
I have,
We had people come and talk about those, so I just want to make sure we
yeah, no, you have.
dot our i's and cross our t's. Thank you. You may have in fact sent them to her, but we didn't get them.
I have a major I think it's a major question. Do you still know, or have you been able to find out what the recovery of that well is? When it's servicing so many people.
I don't know. Ron Pajak is the man who manages it, and I have to ask him. I don't know.
I think that's an important question, because if you count up the number of families that are on that well, if it's only producing or recovering at 10 gallons a minute, and you've got 20 people pulling off that well, it's not so good.
But they were pulling off that well prior to his buying that, so I
I
don't,
agree, David, but if he wants to add another dwelling,
but the dwelling was
There was a
there
house.
pulling off from it.
The water line and all the valving for that house, that house that burned down is still
Yep.
in. So the water line is existing. I use it.
oh, okay, all right, I'm sorry, I missed.
No, no.
Yep,
But, so that was for the existing house up until it burned down in the early 90s.
okay,
So
I missed that point.
Thanks, so.
So just to recap a little bit, when you purchased the property, it was one lot and you separated it into two lots.
It was when we bought it, it was two lots listed on one deed. It
Okay.
was clearly, it was 44 and 45 under one deed when we purchased it.
Okay.
And we get up to our attorney to decide what the effect these deed transfers has on the status of the lots. What the current status is.
Well,
Yeah. And it,
so I have that, I'm going to ask that we have the deeds that show the, every water line easement. And if there's an agreement between property, do you have an agreement? So it's just a
So it's
gentleman's,
written agreement.
okay, good. And deeds that go back to his original purchase from the people he purchased,
Okay,
right? Is that what?
yeah. That's what I heard.
And then when we get those, I'm assuming the attorney didn't have those, or?
He does have them.
He does, okay. But then we've got to have a workshop? Is that what we're having?
Following me?
With the attorney,
Yes,
right?
we will.
Not a meeting, but a workshop?
So the next thing here essentially is that the attorneys would like to join us either through Zoom or personally to kind of talk this over a bit once he understands the answers to these questions and chat some more about that at that point.
Did you say that's supposed, the 27th of
It's gonna be on the
January?
27th, yeah.
Yeah. Does that work for you guys?
This month?
I'm having back surgery
Yes.
big time the next morning.
Oh, boy, really?
So, does it work? Yes.
Just barely,
Can
yeah?
you do the 20, can you guys do the 26th?
No, I,
Is it a Zoom meeting?
He said he would join on Zoom sometimes. He said it's nice to come in person, but I kind of prefer the Zoom.
Zoom we could do from home, right?
I think we should.
Well, it's
be
a
here.
Teams, right? We don't have Zoom, we have Teams.
Yeah, it would have to, I think it would have to be, we would have to display it up on this, we would display his feed up on this TV, and then we would have to be here, just because we don't have like a Zoom
Okay.
license, I suppose, is the word for it.
But
So-
he could join on Zoom, on the Teams, right?
I can join on
And
any
we, yeah,
platform.
we're just gonna send him the link and we can get it.
Yeah.
So on the 27th, that's still good?
Yeah, I'll make it.
Okay,
Put it this way, to address the ordinances at a workshop makes sense, but this person's project should be addressed in a formal meeting. In other words, it's not a workshop subject. It would have to be addressed in a regular meeting.
yeah,
We're just getting answers from the attorney.
that's right.
Are we ultimately trying to figure out if the two lots are one that it now is not non-conforming? These two
There's
lots,
a couple of questions that we asked. Would you have the list of questions that we asked?
I don't have it on me, but
I think, one of the questions was, can we put an accessory dwelling unit on a separate lot? Because they're on the same deed, but they're on separate lots. That's what we believe.
I have a question
the
right here.
specific question?
Sure, they're right here, they're right here in the notes, actually.
Okay.
One was, can an ADU separate from the primary dwelling be placed on another non-conforming lot?
no.
Another one was provide copies of the deed chain and copies of MMA's interpretation of the issue.
I thought I had already submitted that to you.
I don't
Okay.
believe you can put an ADU on a separate non-conforming lot. There has to be a primary building first before you put the ADU.
Well, they're on the same deed, that's where we're confused, I guess,
Yeah.
on that one.
But that would infer that they're on the same lot, right? They have to be on the same lot.
I'm not the person to answer this, but yeah.
Okay.
One of the
And there were
questions,
two other questions, one of which was, what is the current status of the lots? And the other question we came up with, these are at our last meeting for the attorneys, was what are the ramifications of losing non-conforming lot of record status?
that's my question. I think by combining the two lots,
Did it correct it, or?
does it pull it out of non-conformity?
We'll let the attorney answer.
If the two lots were combined, you could put an ADU on it. But you can't put an ADU on a separate lot that doesn't have an existing residential structure on it.
It did have a residential structure on it.
But it's been more than a year since,
Been 10 years.
it's been more than a year. You've only
Yeah.
had a year to rebuild that structure on
Yeah,
that
but-
lot, non-conforming lot. You don't have forever to do it.
No, but the state also changed some of those guidelines for the ADUs as well.
I don't believe, the way that I read that, you have to have a according to our ordinance, there has to be a building that when completed has to be 1,500 square feet. And ADU can be between, what is it, 190 and, what is it, 190 and 750 square feet? But it has to be on the same lot.
Why don't we find out what our attorney thinks of the status of the lot or lots? In other words, you'll either come to the conclusion the lots have been separated or that efforts to reunite them have been successful. And then from there, we could make decisions about ADUs.
Did we have a problem with the 10th, meeting on the 10th?
Oh, yeah, we're having a big party for the 200th birthday of the town.
Okay.
Down at the town hall, so we can't do it the same night. But we need, what was it, 27th, January 27th was one that we had discussed doing second meeting so that we can have the attorney talk to them. He's free that night.
Well, that was for a workshop, though.
We'll do a workshop, I guess, in a meeting immediately following, we'll just put this on, is that good?
Okay.
Yep.
So what date are we meeting?
The
And then,
27th?
So February 3rd is the first select board meeting.
Mhm.
So you put February 10th, proposed ordinance changes with draft wording presented to select board. Can we talk to Michael and see if we can get on that agenda to present it to them on the 3rd?
I don't think we're really ready to do that yet.
Okay,
We'll need
I'm just
another
trying to
meeting.
work with your
Yeah.
schedule here.
Yeah,
Okay.
But
yeah.
Would you like to push out the February meeting till the 27th?
February,
February 27th?
Yeah. I mean, I don't,
Yeah,
February
okay.
10th is the party. I don't know what it
is
is. And then,
February the 17th, or is that a Tuesday?
are you guys going on vacation at all?
No.
No?
Isn't that
Maybe.
Maybe?
I don't know.
All right,
You never know.
so you prefer then it be the 27th of February we would meet?
I mean, if you
That's a
guys want to
Friday.
meet sooner, you can. I just didn't know who's going on vacation or if there were plans. I don't know.
But this is in addition to the January 27th.
Yeah, let's get these
Yeah, let's
people
get this straight.
straightened out.
Yeah.
So we're looking at January 27th?
January 22nd, 7th for the meeting?
For the next
Okay.
meeting.
And what time shall we do that?
We'll do 6 o'clock for the meeting.
Okay,
That would be a substitute for our February the 10th meeting, and then we meet again in March.
Supposedly, yeah.
All right.
So
So,
can we give these folks marching orders on what they need to provide us with?
well, I'm assuming that these folks will.
So they're gonna
They've got the
provide
notes.
copies of the deeds prior to 2010.
Yep.
And then the rest is coming from the attorney,
And deeds for the water lines.
right?
The easements or whatever you have that will include those, thank you.
Okay,
all right. Seems to me it will turn on what the lawyer decides the status of the lots are, and then we can go from there.
Can you give me that date again, Christina?
January 27th.
27th.
And that will be for our
It's
February
Friday.
meeting.
No, that's January 27th.
January 27th, which is a substitute.
So if we're doing January 27th for our February meeting, do we want to have the workshop at 5 o'clock then, rather than at 6
We'll
o'clock?
do a workshop at 5 and then a meeting at 6.
All right, sounds
Is that
like.
what we want to do?
all right, I'm okay.
Now, are
then
we
the-
sure we're going to have a definitive answer from the attorneys? And
Oh, yeah.
my question to you folks would be, would you rather do this, because of your situation, would you rather Zoom the meeting from your house?
Virtual would be fine with me the night before, that would be good, if I can.
Say that again.
Virtual, a Zoom or.
Okay, but you wouldn't be here we wouldn't have that meeting immediately afterwards.
If I have to, I'll come.
Well, we don't know what the attorney's gonna say.
Yeah, we don't.
We
But
can
there's gonna
get,
be
we can
questions.
reschedule if they're not.
Yeah, well, no, we want you at the Zoom meeting,
Yeah, I'll
But-
absolutely participate.
but we can't guarantee that we're gonna have,
I know. That's,
we can't guarantee if we're gonna can make any decisions. Hardly ever.
no, I just,
I'm just trying to make sure you're gonna be comfortable
at that point.
You know.
Are you saying,
So it's
were
like Zoom
By the
5
next
o'clock, but
meeting.
it gets to 6
you
o'clock?
saying, Garrett, that
We're not gonna have a 6 o'clock.
Gotcha. So Zoom 5 o'clock.
Want to Zoom at 5 o'clock?
Well,
You know what, we can do the meeting at 5, just have them as the only application, and then move into a workshop and have the rest of the night to talk about ordinances. Does that sound good?
Oh, good, oh gee, that's exciting.
No, so this gentleman's having surgery the next day.
Yeah.
So we may or may not have an answer from the attorney. Or if,
I'm thinking we will, but you know, if we don't, we can cancel it. I'll let him know. I'll talk to Bob.
but I don't want him to drive up here,
He's not going to. He's gonna do it virtually.
but he can't, we don't have the capabilities to do
split it?
a meeting.
Garrett, we can do a team.
You know what, I know we can do a lot of things, but I've been down that legal road before with the selectmen, and the word is, we can't do it. Yes, sir.
5 o'clock, I'll be here on the 27th.
Okay.
If it works.
Okay.
Right, because you said it was a workshop to answer
Yeah.
the questions.
Where is it you live, sir?
So if it's 5 o'clock in person, I'll be here to answer questions for the attorney.
Okay.
Where is it you live, sir?
We live about 40 minutes north of Boston. It's not a big, it's fine, we're up here, don't worry, we're up here all the time.
Just
Okay.
trying to help out, that's all.
And so in that meeting
Meeting,
as well, we're gonna do a planning board meeting, and then if we have a little time after that, we'll continue with ordinance
You can.
for a bit.
So we're gonna have a workshop at 5.
Workshop at 5.
And then we'll address this gentleman's issue if the information is available.
Correct.
And after that, we might continue with our ordinance
Yep.
review. All right.
Yep.
And then 2:10, are we all coming to the big party? I mean, that's it?
Yes,
We're supposed to?
yes.
So I'm gonna make a motion, we table this issue until the 27th, where we
Thank
have our workshop and a meeting immediately following.
Second.
Second?
We have
Okay.
time to properly advertise the meeting, so,
Yep.
all right, fine. I second it then. Good.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, very good. Let's vote on it then.
All in favor?
Very good.
Are the other dates okay, Christine, or do we have to alter those?
I don't think there's anything else.
That's it for now.
Thank you for
We're
your
good.
patience.
Okay, all right,
You'll have them all time.
all right. And I think we are.
Well, there was one thing
Thank
I
you for your
wanted
patience.
to mention, is that at the training we went to, it was to make sure that we're documenting the decisions we're making on these. Did we discuss that with you, Garrett?
I don't think we discussed it as a board.
Yeah, what we need is what we were doing before, we'd have like a one-page thing where we'd discuss the finding and then we'd make signatures, right? We need to see if we can get back to that
Yes,
practice
absolutely.
somehow.
Yes, I'm gonna be getting- yes,
Wanted to mention that.
good.
At, right after our,
Normally he'd come back a month later, the next
Yeah,
month
okay.
we'd sign and
I thought we were doing that for.
we were doing that and we need to get back to that, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like you
Everything
have some
changes,
sort of
essentially.
formal
We lost
thing
it.
in the file.
But with legally, we should be doing that, period.
And tell you honestly, I was asked, a couple questions, this business between the ZBA and the Board of Selectmen, I was asked my opinion. And I went back and I read the finding, conclusion and finding of fact, and it was so helpful to just to go through that information and have it documented so that I could get it in my
You
head.
bet.
All I wanted to know was my opinion. So I was able to develop an opinion by reading.
So that would basically be something we would do for each application once it's been approved and gone to the planning board. Just a basic finding of facts showing.
Yep.
Yeah, well, the projects we've handled over the last several months have been pretty straightforward. Would be 1 or 2 bullet points that we found approved and, and then signatures on the bottom, but we should at least be doing that. If we get to a more formal project or a larger project, we may have like a page of findings and then a back page for signatures. It's just something that formalizes it.
Kind of like putting those in the annual report. Kind of like what goes in the annual report where the projects are listed out and whether they were approved or not.
Anything else, Paul?
No, I think that's it. So let's do have a motion to,
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Hold on, before you guys rock.
No.
hold on
Yes.
here.
Poor Phil's here waiting for
Yes, because you've got new business, other business, and adjournment. I just want to bring up to the board's attention, but also recommendation. You guys talk about ordinances, and the one that we want to get up and running extremely fast is false alarm or nuisance false alarm ordinance. There's been other towns, I can't remember, there was one in this state, I can't remember where it was, further up north, that they enacted a nuisance fire alarm ordinance for a certain business that they kept going to year after, multiple times over the year. Naples has one, but it's more in depth because they're more commercial alarm systems where they're more commercially developed than our town. But we have an area or a business in this town that last year alone, we went to that place over 13 times for false alarms. And I'd like to bring it to the board to adopt or draft a false alarm ordinance that states basically you get 3 false alarms a year, and then after that you start getting billed. Because when an alarm comes in, it dumps the entire town, plus a truck from another town to respond to a false alarm, what will be a false alarm. This area is Nora Restorative, which is the Sebago place, the 3 buildings that are down on Sebago Road. We get calls to that. Like I said, last year alone, we were over 12 or 13 calls for burnt food. Yes. And it comes in 6 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, noon time, and it's been an ongoing issue.
Where is this again?
Sebago Place, Nora Restorative, just past, or just before Pass Road on the left-hand side. It's the group home. There's 3 of them in there, 988, 986, and 1014 Sebago Road. And I'd like to adopt or draft an ordinance that states that basically false alarm, or the state doesn't have a lot to go on, but I was able to kind of go off the NFPA type standard. And let me just give you a rundown on
Bill, are these 911 calls?
yes. Yep, because it's a monitored system.
So it automatically goes off when there's smoke?
Well, I mean, does somebody call?
No, it's sent to a monitored facility.
Okay, I get it.
So they call dispatch and say, we have an alarm sounding at this place showing smoke. Boom, standby, supervised blocks, engine 1, engine 2, engine 3, tank 1, tank 2, utility 185, Naples ladder 9. Respond to that address for a fire alarm sounding.
So you're trying to prevent them from creating a problem in the first place?
No, I want to bill them for having a problem.
Yeah, but I mean the problem has to be rectified.
I've sold them for years, and it's not being done. And this is kind of a caveat to say, you get 3 free ones, after that, you're gonna be billed. Town of Naples does it, after 3 false alarms, you're getting billed $500. The 4th one is incremental, it goes up to $750 and it caps at $1,000. When you start handing someone a bill for $500, they're gonna have a rep come up and say, hey, we're not paying this anymore, fix our system. They don't get a bill right now.
You think there's something wrong with their detection system that causes it to go off too easily?
Well, burning food every single time when you don't properly vent, for one thing, but, it's...
Do they know that they are generating an alarm?
Yeah.
They do?
The alarms and strobes go off in the building.
Okay.
Now, is this staff preparing food or the patients?
Yeah, it's the staff.
Right.
So,
And I'm not trying to be, I've asked them over and over, they've changed a couple of the heads in the kitchens, but you can't change them all to heat. They have to be both heat and smoke. But this is just to, for one thing, recover some of the cost of everyone leaving at, say, 2 o'clock in the morning to respond for burnt food, where we've got another town that's responding as well, because I can't downgrade the box. That's That's a set standard because it's a dormitory style facility. We have to have a certain response on that plan for, you know, a monitored system. And this is just to kind of recoup a little bit of the cost of, you know, 6 guys coming out of bed, grabbing a fire truck, heading down there, get all the way down there with the rescue as well, and an out-of-town engine. Oh, burnt food, okay?
So are you the one that's gonna enforce the ordinance?
We would send them a bill like our insurance, like on a rescue call.
So yes.
We would bill the insurance company.
Okay. That'd have to be written in the ordinance.
Yes, yeah, because like I said, the draft, or, no, it's not a draft, but it's what the NFPA,
Can you send us that? Give us
Yeah.
something to work from?
well, it's, like I said, it's not really a template, it's more of a, just give me 1 second, because the smartphone's sometimes smarter than me.
Just a reference to it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just wanted to read off,
We've done that for rescue too in the past, for picking people up.
yes, no, it's not on the books.
I know it's not, I know it's
Yeah.
not. I'm thinking here, racking my brain, but we had to
But
stop something.
the other thing is that's, they've also put a policy in place, they have a no lift policy now at that residence. So anytime someone falls down, they have to call 911, we have to send the rescue up to pick said person up, which, that ain't cool either. You're tying up an emergency resource because your profit agency says no lift. We're not gonna pick you up off the ground anymore. Well, we need to look at that too and be like, you're tying up an emergency resource because your policy states you won't pick them up. So when say we're there and all of a sudden call comes in, 3-car accident, we're already committed to the first call.
Can you put that in the form of like a memo to the planning board, what you're asking for there? You want us, we might.
Well,
wanna write
those
an
are two
ordinance?
separate things. Those are, I just wanted to read this to you in regards to it. Do, 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 do.
Sorry, Phil, relax.
Phil, why wouldn't the town manager handle it? Come up with this ordinance?
Because the planning board does the ordinances.
We do ordinances for
Site plan review.
site plan review.
It's still a town ordinance. I can't bill them until it's an ordinance.
No, I get that,
I understand that.
Well, the problem is right now is you guys know what's going on.
Yeah, I know, I know.
So I'm trying to shave some time off this.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll copy that from the NFPA in the state kind of guideline. It states, you know, a nuisance alarm is, you know, either set off by dust, cooking, false alarm, or malfunction equipment. And basically it states after 3 said calls in a calendar year, I want to reframe,
Yeah.
that you're subject to a fine.
Yeah.
And town, like I said, Chief Cox in Naples, they were going to, not Windsor Green, but the other condominium place that's
Yeah.
right there. They were going there, the last year before they implemented, they were there 19 times. They implemented the ordinance, he handed them a $1,000 bill the 4th time, no more alarms. They saw that bill, and like, okay, maintenance, come in, fix whatever's gotta be fixed. It's basically kind of forcing them, hey,
no, we
getting the bill?
So Phil, is this an equipment problem, meaning not yours, but in terms of the fire alarms and the smoke alarms and all
It's
those kinds of
probably
things?
a lot to do with, you know, maintenance.
Okay,
And again, you know, the staff turnover, I'm sure doesn't help. You know, because it is, you know, that type of facilities, it's high turnover.
Sounds like a training education thing on their end, for sure.
Does that
Trying
equipment have,
for years, Dave.
Yeah, but no, on their end, they'll figure it out when they get a bill.
But it also comes down to not just them, I don't want to single them out, but it could be a residential one that's constant, you know,
yeah.
going off. I don't want to single out one entity, but I want to have something on the books that we've got some teeth behind it. to do
I'm
that.
just getting at, so technically, it's solvable in terms of alarm systems and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
does that equipment have a life expectancy and a maintenance requirement?
Well, it's just like your residential smoke detector is only good for 10
Same
years.
thing.
So that should be probably written into the ordinance too then?
Yeah.
That's,
Equipment older than 10 years needs to be replaced
Well,
or
that's an OSHA
inspected?
thing.
you're going a little further down the rabbit hole than we
All
need
right,
to.
okay.
Because that's when we start getting into more commercial stuff and we don't have that in town. You know, residential falls under residential. You know, it's, as the homeowner, it's your responsibility to make sure your stuff's up to
I
snuff.
thought this was a business.
Well, it's dormitory for the mentally challenged, you know, they can't live on their own.
It's like a halfway house or something.
It's not even
No,
half, it's,
no.
they're assisted.
Oh,
They're
okay.
assisted.
People that have to have
They're
assisted
disabled.
living.
Okay, yeah.
I think they're mostly head injured.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so it's, you know, very limited on medical staff, more like meds and stuff like that, but they can live, you know, independently, but not that independent. They have to be in a group home, I should say.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
all right,
that's
thank
your
you.
turn. Okay,
Thank you, Phil.
so we'll noodle that one for our next session. A little bit. Okay, great. So we did have, yes, we did. We had a motion, it was seconded. All in favor? To adjourn.
Don't let the